doing AppSec or not. If you get a chance, talk to James McGovern. He's working on an OWASP project to define what a responsible application security program looks like. And you should see a draft of that pretty soon. It's not too late. I'm really inspired to be here today with the leading experts in application security and some of the owners of the world's most critical applications. We do have a choice to make. None of these things that I've laid out that we can do are going to happen unless you get involved. I'm asking you to join in and help us achieve software's promise. It's easy to start a chapter or start a project or even just share what you know in the wiki. So even if you don't agree with anything that I've said, please join us and help us get it right. We really can't afford not to. So thank you. I'd now like to introduce the other volunteer members of the OWASP board. Tom Brennan is going to talk about, Dave's going to go first? Okay, Dave's going to talk about our efforts to organize and make the world's application security knowledge public. Then Tom's going to talk about how OWASP works and how to get involved. And Dennis Cruz is going to share OWASP's research initiatives. So thank you all very much for coming. I look forward to meeting all of you, and have a great conference.
So there's a lot of guys in the back of the room that need seats. So if people on the middle can squish in, maybe make or come forward. We don't bite, so try to make room, please. Okay, so I'm just going to talk for a few minutes. We've been doing a lot of work at OWASP in the last year or so, trying to improve the quality of the projects that we have. OWASP for years has been building this huge body of knowledge. We've been building all these great tools, all these great documents. Moving to the wiki a couple years ago has really caused us to significantly expand the amount of knowledge that we're collecting, managing, and maintaining. And we realized, we've got a lot of projects, but it wasn't clear which projects were mature and sort of ready for prime time, and which projects really need some additional work to get them to be more readily usable by organizations. So that's what we've been focusing on. So we're trying to focus on improving what we have and also disseminating that information to the world that needs it. So obviously this conference is an example of our outreach to the community. The establishing the chapters program that we established, 3 years ago, I guess, or 2 years ago, is blossomed. And so we're going to just talk about that very, very briefly. So we have a lot of resources that we've made available to the world. And we're also making all this available free and open, of course. That's one of our core focuses. So we have a lot of documentation that's described how to do various things. We have a lot of coding projects that help you test for vulnerabilities or help you prevent vulnerabilities, education, etc. We have a chapters program that's growing very nicely, and then we have the conferences around the world. I'm the OWASP conferences chair, and actually this is the first U.S. conference that I personally have not organized. Tom did, so kudos to him for getting this organized. And Sebastian has done the same thing in Europe, so they're helping me out there. We also have a bunch of other conferences around the world as well. So one of the things we've had for a long time is this quality level concept at OWASP, where we have alpha projects, beta projects, and release quality projects. But for the first 5 or 6 years, that was just sort of like a rough estimate of, well, that looks like a beta and that looks like a release, so we put it in there. Well, in the past year, we've actually defined actual criteria for what it means to be an alpha, beta, and release quality project. And we are in the process during the next 6 to 12 months to go through all existing projects and make sure they're in the right category and encourage the active projects to move up in quality so they're a better product for you guys to use. We also admittedly have a lot of dead projects on OWASP that have been there for 3 or 4 years, they haven't changed in a long time, and maybe never got out of alpha stage. So one of the things we want to do is go through the knowledge repository we got in the projects and organize them into the projects that are really ready for you guys to use, and shove off to the side those that have died or that they're really just not ready for prime time. So related to increasing the quality, now that we've got this criteria, all the Summer of Code participants that we do, or Season of Code, we actually do them in various seasons depending on our timing, are all being encouraged to, by the time they're done with their brand new project in the Season of Code, it needs to get to beta quality at least. If it's already an existing project, which we have lots of them in Summer of Code, like all the various guides that you see here, if they were already beta when they started, then they need to get to release quality by the time they get through the next Season of Code project. We're also producing these in book form. We did that a year ago in San Jose, was the first versions of the books, but now we've actually got criteria on the quality levels. We've got some professional covers that we've put together. These books you can get in hard copy like this for the cost of printing the book. OWASP doesn't make any money when you print these out. You can also download them as PDFs for free, of course, like everything else. We've also started providing support to our hundreds of volunteers. So we've actually have enough funding now that we can hire employees. So a year ago, we just announced our first employee. Now we have effectively 3 full-time employees split across 4 people. We have an executive director who helps manage everything that we're doing. That's Kate Hartman. Paolo Combria, who Dennis Cruz found in the UK, is our project manager. He's helping all the projects with how to work with OWASP, how to improve their quality, how to organize teams of contributors to push things forward, and that's having massive impacts on the projects we're doing. Some of the projects are having 30, 40, 50 participants on a single project, like the testing guide, for example. And the Spanish translations had a huge team of people working on those as well. OWASP is focusing right now on providing infrastructure so volunteers who want to come in and do cool stuff can focus on what's interesting for them, and we'll try to take care of the more mundane things like technical editing, project management, financial management, dealing with the wiki, things like that. We are now looking to add a team of programmers to OWASP. Some of them might be hired interns. They might eventually be an employee. We're probably going to initially start doing this as like a Season of Code kind of thing where we have a certain amount of funding and we go quarter to quarter to see what they can contribute. And by doing that, we'll vet various teams and get the best value for OWASP money. And Dennis is going to talk a little bit about that as well. So this is just our wiki page on our quality levels. We've got quality levels for both tools and projects and our documentation, and we're going to go through all the OS projects over the next 12 months and make sure they're all categorized in the right place and encourage them to move up the quality ladder so that they're easier for you guys to use. One of the big things that we're focusing on in the wiki, again, is improving the quality. Well, right now we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages of projects and things like that, and we're trying to organize the core of our knowledge base into 4 key components. We've always had this, the very first guide that OWASP ever wrote was the guide on how to build secure software. That was one of the leading projects way back in 2002. And since then, we've been working on a code review guide and a testing guide. And then we also had just sort of all kinds of articles all over the place. Well, the application security desk reference that Jeff mentioned earlier is our focus to organize the sort of the basic information all in one place, and then we're going to pull that basic information out of the guides and have them simply refer to the desk reference. So when you go to the code review guide and you're trying to figure out